Welcome to the 33rd Sunday weekly update of 2025, sharing all the things that have happened and are planned for Greater Brisbane here on the Brisbane Channel. This video is sponsored by the Exotics Vet. Another massive one this week with two very different protest marches taking to Brisbane streets, new stats on sex ratios in Brisbane. I'm talking male to female numbers, not how many people are getting action. And a heap of updates for each of Greater Brisbane's LGAs. I also have a giveaway with 10 Admit 2 tickets to the preview screening of The Long Walk, a thrilling screen adaptation of Stephen King's first novel on the 11th of September at Event Cinemas at Mount Gravatt. There's a lot to get through, so let's go. Let's start with new figures that have been released by the Bureau of Statistics, which look at ages and sex distribution of Australians in 2024. The median age is where half of the population is younger than that age and half is older, and Greater Brisbane's population had a median age of 36.4. Out of all of Australia's capitals, Brisbane has the third youngest population. Darwin has the youngest and Hobart has the oldest. As for sex ratio, which is the number of males for every 100 females, we've got just over 98 men for every 100 women. Of course, we're talking sex rather than gender here, so things may be a little more complicated if you bring gender into the discussion. While Darwin is the only capital with more men than women, Brisbane has the suburb with the largest number of men to women. Wacol has over 290 men for every 100 women, but if you're a single woman looking for a man, don't get too excited. The high number is because of all the men's correctional facilities there. We'll move on to the two marches last week and this week that hit Brisbane streets. Last Sunday was the March for Palestine, originally planned to cross the Story Bridge, but eventually settling on marching from Queen's Gardens across Victoria Bridge to Musgrave Park. While exact numbers are difficult to work out, all estimates are in the tens of thousands. The protesters were marching against the Australian government not putting sanctions on Israel for their actions in Gaza. I did a live stream from the march documenting the event, and the Brisbane Channel subsequently lost a bunch of subscribers, which I found interesting as I was only documenting the event, not telling people they should or shouldn't support it. And that brings me to the second march, which will have taken place hours before this video went public on YouTube. The March for Australia is a little more difficult to describe, due in part to the lack of clarity around who the actual organisers are and the way it's been taken on by diverse groups with varying interests. But the common thread through all of them is that the protest is against mass immigration. People planning to attend have expressed views ranging from moderate to extreme, with far-right groups including the National Socialist Network, a prominent neo-Nazi group, supporting the event, while others point to excessive migration as contributing to significant issues such as housing affordability, saying that an influx of migrants is adding to demand for housing that is already struggling with supply. But it is troubling that one individual behind the Sydney March for Australia has expressed support of not only white supremacist ideologies, but is also on the record advocating violence.
The reason I'm saying I feel it needs to happen is because we need violence. I'm sorry, but we need fucking violence. We've done peaceful. Peaceful hasn't done shit. I don't think that anything significant is going to change unless something like that does happen again. And but it's just the facts. Like it's until we stand up and do something like that day, I think that it's just going to be repeating.
It's a complex issue as not everyone attending supports such extreme views, at least based on what some people planning on attending have expressed publicly. Some are just about reducing the number of people brought into the country regardless of where they're coming from, while others have a more race-oriented agenda. Even the flyer put out by event organisers targets Indians specifically and talks of cultural replacement, and the website promoting the event originally referenced remigration, basically sending people back to where they came from. Many Australians who have migrated here have expressed fear for their own safety on the day, particularly those from India. I won't give my 2 cents on it in this video, but I plan to attend and speak with people who have joined the event to get a sense of where they're coming from. On the Brisbane Channel, I'm always about understanding where people are coming from, whether I agree or not. Just as attending the March for Palestine was to document rather than directly support, attending the March for Australia will be the same. That said, I expect I'll be making a video comparing my observations from the two events and giving my personal assessment soon, but also drawing on the views that have been expressed at each event by attendees. I'm sad to say that I'm a little nervous about even attending to document, let alone the way things may turn when the protest and the counter-protest groups meet. I guess we'll know how things played out by the time this video airs to everyone who isn't a channel member. While these marches highlight differences in the views of people living in Brisbane, there is one thing that unites us all. Everybody hates the new Translink app. When Microsoft ended support for Xamarin, an open source developer platform, Translink were forced to end the My Translink app and bring out the new app simply called Translink. And it warms my heart that once again we are a people united, albeit united in hate. The new app currently has a 1.3 star rating in the Play Store, with some saying they'd give it 0 stars if that were an option. Most feedback is that the functionality is very limited, with some going so far to say it's unusable. When I gave it a try, I got a message about a server error when I put Roma Street in as a destination, but it disappeared before I could take a screenshot. One criticism is that there's no connection to the GoCard system to check balances or with bus, train and ferry timetables, with users being sent to an external browser for those details. With the app in its current form, it seems travellers are better to use a third-party app like Move It or just stick to Google Maps, for now at least. But while we're on public transport, the testing and commissioning of the Adelaide Street Tunnel has finally concluded. For the last weekend of the testing, the CSIRO conducted 6 smoke tests, filling the tunnel with heat and smoke to assess the performance of its control systems. The tunnel will open later this year, with some 1,390 bus and metro buses passing through each weekday, relieving the bottleneck created by all underground services having to pass through the tunnel under Queen Street Mall. And that kind of connects to the next update, as one of the metro buses has been named after the latest figure to be given the keys to the city in Brisbane. Last week, Sister Angela Mary Doyle was given the keys to the city and became the second person to have a metro bus named in their honour. The honour was bestowed on the sister for her tireless advocacy for marginalised groups. In the 1980s, Premier Joh Bjelke-Petersen mandated that nobody should help HIV/AIDS patients. Doyle arranged a secret workaround through which funds went directly from the Federal Health Department to the Mercy Order, who forwarded the money to the Queensland AIDS Society. The Sisters of Mercy also supplied the organisation with equipment, medical personnel and housing. Sister Doyle also worked to help migrant and Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders' health and welfare. The other person to have a metro bus named in their honour was Brisbane rugby great Darren Lockyer. This video is sponsored by the Exotics Vet, an independently owned and operated vet practice in Redcliffe. With a fully equipped hospital, they can do blood tests, ultrasound, radiographs, endoscopies and surgical procedures for your pet, and they'll treat pretty much anything except cats, dogs and livestock. Far too many for me to list in this short promo. They also offer routine procedures like desexing and microchipping. The dedicated team have over 30 years' experience in exotics veterinary practice between them, and they're offering 15% off consultation fees for clients who mention this video. Click this QR code or the link in the video description to find out more. Let's get to the LGA specific updates, starting in Brisbane. Brisbane City Council have released a budget update. The Office of the Lord Mayor say that the update confirms the Schrinner Council has continued spending within its means and is on track to reduce net debt to $2.9 billion by 2028-29. In June, that debt sat at $3.7 billion and has now dropped to $3.61 billion. They've pointed out a $420 million cut in spending while still delivering a range of projects. Council opposition say that the Lord Mayor has chosen cuts over community, including an $800 million cut from the Council's materials and services budget, which covers the physical items and contractors the city needs to operate. In this week's council meeting, opposition councillor Charles Strunk suggested that budget allocations had been put into differently divided and named categories in this year's budget compared to previous years, asserting that it was a deliberate decision made with the aim of making it difficult or impossible to compare spending in this budget with that of previous budget years. Now to a Brisbane suburban renewal project announced this week. The site of the former Taubman's paint factory will be transformed into what Brisbane City Council says will be Australia's first fully integrated arts village. The paint factory closed in 2015 and will be transformed into an arts precinct with food and drink outlets, art spaces, a theatre and an escape room facility. Council say that the precinct, covering over 34,000 square metres, could also feature markets, health services, a garden centre, a hardware store and hundreds of new homes. The first stage of development will include 64 car parks for visitors and staff and up to 200 informal spaces for events. It's not entirely clear what is meant by those spaces though. I'll share more details here on the Brisbane channel as they come to hand. The final update for the Brisbane LGA is that community members in West End held a protest on Friday over plans to build a 16-storey apartment block at 33 Vulture Street, opposite West End State School. They say that with a large amount of 3- and 4-bedroom apartments in the plan for 132 apartments in total, the number of families moving to the area would put a strain on the school, which is reportedly already finding student numbers a challenge despite recently completed expansion. Other residents suggest the traffic flow in and out of the block will add to the already congested streets. This came to my attention late in preparations for this video, so I haven't looked into it in much detail at this stage, but I thought I'd let you know about it briefly. We'll jump up to the Moreton Bay LGA now, and their council has become the first in Queensland to integrate advanced thunderstorm tracking features from WeatherWatch into its disaster dashboard. The new feature clearly shows which areas are most at risk from current thunderstorm activity, updating every 5 minutes, helping residents prepare for potential impacts. You may remember a recent update where we mentioned the resignation of one of the Moreton Bay councillors, Darren Grimwade. Well, the candidates running in the by-election for Division 11 are locked in and the ballot order was drawn last week. Here's the candidates in order of how they will appear on the ballot. The by-election will be held on the 27th of September. Over to Logan now, where the number of people both being injured and being fined while riding e-scooters has seen a significant increase. In 2024, from the start of the year to November 30, 13 people were hospitalised after being involved in an accident while riding an e-scooter. This was double the amount seen the previous year. That year, 39 tickets were issued for people misusing personal mobility devices. This includes e-scooters, e-bikes and other devices. This year, in just the first 4 months, there are already 32 tickets that have been issued in Logan. The most common fine issued is for not wearing a helmet when riding, and the second category is using a road prohibited for personal mobility devices. This update comes as the Queensland Government continues its evaluation of personal mobility device laws. To the Redlands, where I've got 2 updates for you. Firstly, after lobbying by the owner of Cleveland Central Shopping Centre, laws in Redlands City are going to be amended to allow regulated parking in commercial car parks, specifically the Coles and Woolworths car parks in Cleveland. 6 new regulated off-street parking areas will be added to Schedule 2 of Subordinate Local Law No. 5 Parking 2015. Not only will parking be regulated, but it will be the council that is responsible for enforcement. While the amendment has been endorsed by the council, it will not be formally adopted until next month after 3 weeks of community notification and consultation. Soccer players in the Redlands are celebrating the consolidation of 2 previously planned sports parks in the shoreline development at Moreton Bay into a single district football facility that will include 4 rectangular fields, sports lighting, a purpose-built clubhouse and community amenities. Redlands City Football Club has grown to around 600 members since it began in 2020 and have been making do with 1 senior and 1 junior pitch and no clubhouse, so needless to say they're happy with the news. An update for Ipswich, home of Gout Gout, is that plans for a synthetic athletes track originally proposed for the University of Southern Queensland's Ipswich campus have been scrapped, with the university turning down a $10 million funding commitment from the federal government toward the project. Instead, they will now build the project in Toowoomba. This week they accepted $1 million from the state government to complete design for an athletics centre and tartan track at the university's Toowoomba campus. A couple of quick updates before I get to the movie ticket giveaway. Firstly, due to continued testing of the European train control system on the Shorncliffe line, alongside operational training, the line will be closed between Binder and Shorncliffe from Monday the 1st of September to Thursday the 4th. Rail buses will replace trains for those 4 days. The second quick update is to let you know about a new family play showing soon inspired by the 2022 floods across southeast Queensland. Written by Brisbane playwright Harry Fritsch, Playground in the Sky is a 60-minute adventure that invites families to reflect on resilience, community, and the power of play. It will run from the 22nd to the 25th of September. I've put a link in the video description. Don't forget, everyone who has joined as a member of the Brisbane channel gets a list with links to hundreds of events happening each month in Greater Brisbane, as well as upcoming events you may need to get tickets for in advance. Thanks to these members for their continued support. And And speaking of tickets, I've got 10 Admit 2 tickets to a preview film screening on the 11th of September at Event Cinemas Mount Gravatt. From the highly anticipated adaptation of master storyteller Stephen King's first written novel, and Francis Lawrence, the visionary director of the Hunger Games franchise films, comes The Long Walk, an intense, chilling and emotional thriller that challenges audiences to confront a haunting question: how far could you go? To enter, head to the Brisbane Channel's Instagram account, make sure you're already following, and tag a friend in your comment on the post for The Long Walk. I'll draw the winners in a live stream at 7 p.m. on Friday the 5th of September. I'm really happy to see that so many people enjoyed the My 2 Cents segments at the end of the last two videos. I don't have anything I really want to give my 2 cents about for this video, but I'm sure after observing whatever goes down during the walk for Australia, I'll have plenty to say in the midweek update this coming week, or maybe for a dedicated video looking at that march alongside the March for Palestine. But while we're talking about upcoming videos, I'll let you know that I'm considering tweaking the 2 weekly update videos. Instead of dividing the two based on content, with Sunday being the more local and midweek being more based on things at a state level that affect us in Greater Brisbane, I may just do them based on whatever info comes to hand in the days preceding the video. That will make for a better mix, I think. No matter how I split it, there's always so much going on in Greater Brisbane that it's really challenging to keep on top of it. But I can't complain, it's the path I've committed to, and I thank you for joining me on the journey. Here's the last midweek update in case you missed it. Ciao from the city who brought you multifocal contact lenses.